Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Forge. In one of my previous videos, a very long video I might add, I showed you a complete step-by-step process, or as complete as I could, step-by-step process to take and do a rose. And here's that rose that we made in that video. You should be able to see the links at the end of this video if you want to take a look at that, and they will also be in the description box down below. Today we're going to take and finish this rose. I'm going to do the wire wheeling process, give you some tips and tricks there, and then I'm actually going to color this rose and really give it a lot of pop. Right now it's just kind of dark and gray. That's pretty neat if you're a goth kid or something like that. There's a funny story on that. I was actually asked by a goth kid one time to make him a rose that was all black and even had blood splatter on it. And anyway, neat story. Won't get into it. Not YouTube friendly. So, anyways, we're going to get this all cleaned up today. Hope you enjoy the video. Stay tuned. Here we are at my wire wheel. I got this wire wheel a long time ago, about 6 years ago from Harbor Freight. It's lasted this long. I don't know if they all do it. This is what they call a grinder buffer combo, which, you know, I mainly just use it for my wire wheeling. I used to use it for all my buffing, wire wheeling, and grinding needs. I've since upgraded to a new buffer, and so therefore I just use it, and I've set it up predominantly for this. It's on a stand from Harbor Freight. I just move it around the shop or get it out of the way when I don't need it. Only when I do my wire wheeling. It is entirely possible and probably a safer route to take and put a cup wheel and lock this into a vise somewhere and just use a cup wheel, a wire cup wheel on like an angle grinder that has a variable speed setting that you can slow down. Wire wheels are very dangerous. I'll start there. These little fleekers, the little wires on them come off all the time. That sends them zinging. It's best to make sure you wear your eye protection at all times when doing this. And if you do choose to wire wheel anything on a bench setup like this, always wire wheel where you're downstream, never upstream of the wire wheel spinning. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So if you notice, I'll hold this and I will ease into it, but it's on the downward stroke, so this rolls around like so. If I were to take and get this up here, it's going to snag. It's going to pull and jerk. Consequently, if I get this like this and get it in here, it's going to pull and jerk and yank things around, and we do not want that at no cost whatsoever. So with these, it's very, very tough to get in here and get all these angles, but what you have to think about is coming in nice and parallel to the wire wheel and on a downhill stream. So you can put this in and don't catch any raw edges like so. If you do that, it will jerk it. It will jerk it out of your hands and possibly throw it back at you. I had a real close call with a knife blade once. Got flicked right around and shoved right between my big and little toe, right through my boot. And I was wearing, at that time I wasn't wearing steel-toed boots, I was just wearing regular leather work boots. And it shoved that knife clear down through to the sole, just barely missing my toes. It was miraculous that it didn't get my toes. So that just shows you how quickly something can go from being a good ideal to a real stupid ideal real quick. So always use proper safety equipment, wear your eyeglasses, be assured of your machine, follow all safety instructions, and you should be fine. I by no means would express to you to do things the way that I do things in my videos. They're just here purely for the education of how a project is made, not necessarily the correct way of doing that project. So now I'm real clear about that. I'll go ahead and turn on the death machine, as I call it. and I'll show you how to hold this, or I'll show you how I hold this bloom to support it, so this way it doesn't jerk all the way around. Another really big important note with a wire wheel before I get going: don't wear gloves. Stupidest thing you can do is wear a pair of gloves with a wire wheel. It snags fabric. You know, if I could push it on there, you know, look at that. It just snags fabric. Don't do it. You know, if you're worried that you're going to get your hand in the wire wheel, well, don't use a wire wheel. Simple as that. Just don't do it. Use a wire brush, scrub it real good, put in the elbow grease. Don't do things that you're not comfortable with. So I'll kick it on here. It'll get loud, and here we go. As you can tell, it's a little underpowered, but that's a good thing. If it was overpowered, it'd pull this thing right into it. As I said before, we don't want that. So as you can see, I'm working on the downhill stroke. The downhill stroke of that wire wheel. I'm holding it in different angles, so I grip my roses right around the bloom like this to support all the petals so it doesn't get jerked. And I just work the edges on the downhill stroke. Get this good and cleaned up here. So there we go. So I'm going to turn that off. As you can tell, it's kind of a crappy machine, but that's why I like it. If you had a, you know, a 4 horsepower wire, 4 horsepower wire wheel, big old industrial sucker, 3-phase and things, and you couldn't stop it like that, if it were to try to yank you into it, there would be no stopping. It would just feed you right on through the thing. So, you know, that's what I like about this underpowered Harbor Freight. It doesn't have to be this killer tool. In fact, I prefer it isn't. And, you know, it makes the most sense. But as you can see, I got a nice shiny job there. Another thing, if you don't want a wire wheel at all or deal with any of that, you know, there's always sandblasting. I don't have a sandblaster. That is an option to get your pieces clean. If you notice, it's bright on the outsides but dark on the insides. And for my effect, that's what I want. I want it to have dark and light. I want it to have light and shadow. So we got that done. I've already cleaned these up prior to heating them back. And so they've got a kind of, all the leaves have kind of got a bluish tone to them and things, which I'm just going to leave that dark oxide on those. Just to really support what I'm doing here. I'm going for a little darker rose than normal, just to help make those colors pop. So, next clip, I'll go right over to the vise. This is gonna, I promise you guys, this is gonna be a shorter video. I'm gonna go over to the vise, and I'm gonna show you how I put color on my roses, and you'll be good to go. Here we are at the vise again. I'm going to get this torch fired up real quick. And my favorite rosebud here, torch. I'm going to get the flames going and show you what I do here for my coloring. It's actually a pretty nice process. You need a really low flame, not a lot of pressure. Kind of a good oxygenating flame is best for this. I'm going to do 2 processes here. I'm going to do a bit of heat bluing to the rose, which is going to give it a lot of nice little dark shades of purples and blues, and even some, bronze colors to the actual rose itself. And then I'm also going to take and use my brass brush. Camera won't focus in on that. Put it back here. But anyways, you can get it. It's brass. I'm actually going to use my brass brush as well at those temperatures to just kind of highlight some of the edges with a little more golden hues. So you'll get that to play off one another. It's important to give this some thought as you do stuff like this for art. to give it kind of some thought of what in your head, what you would like this to look like at the end. As I said over at the wire wheel, you know, you notice I didn't get all the scale out of it and things like that, because I'm really wanting, as you walk around this piece, to take and see the differences in light and shadow and things like that. So I really want it to have a lot of different colors and color effect. So as I heat this up, what you're going to notice is, I don't know if you see some of that flame kind of shoot up out of there and stuff, and some flaking off, sparks. That scale popping off of it there. And it's also just a little bit of moisture being driven off of the rose bloom itself. Metal, as it cools, it will actually get a little bit of, it'll actually contract just a little bit of moisture, you know, and condensation. It'll condensate on it. So something to keep in mind, you know, that you'll see a little bit of water run off. And in certain projects that I'll show in the future, that's something that you don't want. As you can see with the video here, and man, that's coming out really good on the video, I'm surprised. We're just trying to heat this up enough. You can start seeing those golden colors come out right up in here. We're trying to take and get this really nice dark goldeny kind of bluish color starting to come out. We want to get some of them blues and purples going. You can see it over there on the other tip of the rose going. I'm going to just heat it lightly. You don't want to go too far with the torch. It can run back to gray pretty quick. So we got a lot of these blues and everything, and different colors. We're going to go ahead and start brushing it now at this temperature. This consequently is a perfect temperature to put brass brushing on. I see a lot of guys going overboard with brass brushing. Do not get carried away with the brass brushing. You know, you're not trying to make a golden rose. If you are trying to make a golden rose, go ahead, have at. But it generally looks better to just have some golden highs streaking through, just to give it interest more than to overpower the whole piece. And now the next secret to this, I won't reset the camera for this, I'll just take it off camera real quick and really set these colors in. And what I mean by that is I found that a quick dip into the quench tank, we'll heat this up a little bit, get a little more color back in here. I have found that a real quick dip into the quench tank will take and really set these colors off like crazy. Keep bumping my nozzle here. It'll really set off these colors. I mean, it's kind of amazing how quickly it'll really set it off. I'm having a little trouble with the lighting in here with the camera, the way it's reacting. It actually looks a lot better than what it does in here. I'll have to get one of those filters, special filters on there, you know, like they use on Instagram. Make it look better than what it actually is, eh? So, give it a little bit of brass brushing. Once again, I'm focusing just kind of hitting the highs. I'm not trying to get all the petal brass in color. But, alright, that color looks pretty good there. It's going to take a little experimenting for you to figure out what you want on this, but I'm going to go dip it in the quench tank real quick, and I'll be back and you'll see how colorful this gets and sets those in. I don't see it there. So let me readjust this camera just a fuzz. You can see that right there. Torch is still going, wasted money. But you can see that really getting them colors in there. But anyways, so that takes that takes a dark rose and really colors it in nicely. Bring it up here, try to get the focus. You know, left the scale on the back, but in the areas that it wasn't scaly, look at that. You got some brass in there. And these colors, whenever you lacquer this, or you put a little paint on it, or rub it down with wax, or oil, or anything like that, they deepen. They get darker. And that's a real neat effect. So it takes a little bit of a trick to know when to quit. Show you some of the stem work there. As you can see, those welds blended in really nicely. Like I was saying, it takes a little bit to know when to quit, when it looks good. But after you've done a few of them, you'll have that right on the money every time. So, anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, please like, leave a comment what you thought, subscribe if you would. I greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to get up my subscriber base all the time, and that way I can keep making really great videos and helping out more and more people. Thanks for watching. God bless.